So we're still talking about the state of the economy. We're hoping to be joined on the program by Bismarck Rwani, who is the Managing Director and CEO of Financial Derivatives Company. But then there's still quite a lot of activities we're tracking from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. Bids opening for the 2016-2017 NNPC crude term contract holds today in the nation's capital, Abuja. But on Wednesday, the Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Dr. Mekati Baru, addressed the Senate Joint Committee on implementation of JV cash calls obligation of between 2011 and 2015. He told the committee that agreements with partners to exit JV cash call debts have been reached, with the exit expected to be through incremental production over 2 to 5 years without impacting on base production, given the assurance that the government will continue to take its royalty and taxes as first-line charge, which constitutes about 85% of government revenue. Biodun Adesoya, President, Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, joins me now to talk about this. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay.
It's great to have you on the program. Now, are you encouraged by the new proposals and outlined benefits to Nigeria by Dr. Mekati Baru at this committee hearing yesterday?
Yes, I'm very encouraged. It's a good development for the industry if all the stakeholders are able to do what they need to do. There are a few, before I go into the benefits for real, let me just quickly highlight some of the aspects that we need to consider. The base production, I'm assuming it's the 2.2 million barrels per day that we do, and the components of that to each of the producing companies. And I'm also assuming that the disruptions we've had is brought to the barest minimum so that these laudable tasks can be achieved. But on the positive side, this is going to bring respectability and removal of the stigma of NNPC being a chronic debtor to its JV partners. It's going to encourage exploration by all means. We will be able to start heading towards our targets of achieving raising the reserve base from 37 million barrels to about 37 billion barrels to 40 billion barrels. And it's going to encourage exploration, enable us to find new reserves, and it's going to have a reflational effect on the economy, which is currently in recession. It's going to increase confidence building effect and make sure that the industry activities are brought back, jobs are brought back, all the aspects that have negatively impacted on the industry, on the sector, we begin to see a turnaround. But it requires a lot of commitment. It requires a lot of concise, determined commitments by all the stakeholders to make this work.
So for you, this is like this proposal now is like a silver bullet for the controversial joint venture calls between the NNPC and international oil companies, as well as other stakeholders, including yourself.
Absolutely, it is. It's like I said, it's a welcoming development. Any attempt to resolve the joint venture cash call arrears challenges will always have a very positive impact on the upstream sector, and certainly the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists will be pleased to see a full implementation and compliance by all parties. It has so many positive effects, like I said, and chiefly of that is that definitely we'll see a turnaround, and we'll begin to see it brings back some confidence building into the industry, and jobs are going to be more secured, and activity level, which has its multiplier effect on the economy, will begin to come back. So whichever direction you want to look at it, this is a definite welcoming situation now.
So as we wrap up this conversation, and I know that there's so many other issues that will be coming up in this particular conversation, do you see, what's your expectation now for the first half of the year, especially as at the end of this month, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries is expected to hold its meeting. It's a very much talked about meeting, especially as most people are expecting a production cut. And Nigeria is one of those countries that are expected not to be affected by any of the decisions reached at this meeting. What's your projection for Nigeria's oil and gas industry vis-a-vis what's going on in the global oil and gas industry?
I think the first expectation is that we will try and improve on our daily production and bring it back to the base 2.2 million barrels of oil per day. That would be the first thing we need to do. Remember that from the Bureau of Statistics information released, our average production in Q2 was something of the order of 1.63 million barrels per day. We need to inflate that back and get to 2.2. Of course, we've been given some allowables by OPEC to not to have a cut, let me put it that way. But we will begin to inch our ways towards the 3 million barrels opportunity that this will bring. Of course, there are all sorts of challenges that we need to be concerned with along the way. But I think that within the first 6 months, especially since this is Dr. Barrow's position is something that's already been canvassed and accepted by the JV partners, I think if everybody goes back to work, we should be able to relatively and easily, if there are no disruptions, attain these targets.
Thank you so much, Biodun Adesanya, President, Association of Petroleum Explorationists, for joining me on the program this morning and sharing your perspectives with us. Of course, we're still talking about the state of the economy. I'm hoping to be joined very soon by the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rwani, as we take a look at some other issues in the economy. But let's quickly take you through some of the oil and gas stocks we track here for you on the program. Now, yesterday we saw a little bit of mixed trading on oil and gas stocks. The most active for that particular list was Owando. Owando notched up 5% to close at 4.20 naira, but it was still not enough to push the daily index from the negative position, as we saw a 6.19% drop in Forte Oil. That equity finished at 70 naira. The other stocks, Con Oil, MRS and Seplat, were unchanged, as you can see from that list. But taking a look at the accumulative from yesterday's trade, index came in at minus 1.2%. Year to date is at 25.9%, and price to earnings is at 11%, as against the 9.4% of the broader market, and dividend yield at 3.6%.